He was an INSEAD graduate to experience the difficulties of financing an international MBA. What did he do? Did he go home and cry into his supper? No, his response was to start a business, Prodigy Finance, in the UK before he then brought it back home. This is Tonight. I'm Bruce Whitfield. Tonight I'm speaking to Cameron Stevens, the founder and chief executive of Prodigy Finance, about how he defied the odds. I like good stories like this one, Cameron, where guys like you run into a brick wall and where you could cower and roll over and wet yourself, you choose not to. You went proactive.
Absolutely, Bruce. I mean, it's a problem that I've stubbed my toe against, obviously, when I went to INSEAD and thought, and this was the times pre-credit crunch when the banks were actually supposed to be in the market, and saw this issue for me and many of my classmates and decided to do something about it, that we could actually do something that would be better than the banks were doing.
So INSEAD doesn't come cheap. Fees there for an MBA are in the region of lots of euros.
You're looking for a total budget for the year, including your living cost and tuition, of about $100,000 as a total budget. So it's pretty significant, particularly if you're coming from an emerging market country. So your salary before MBA is significantly less than what you would earn on graduation. So if you're coming from Ghana or South Africa or Chile and going to a top business school, you don't have the income level yet to pay for the course yourself or to be able to secure a loan on traditional terms from a bank.
Now, borrowing money to study is the ultimate, I suppose, bet on the future. You're taking the bet that the MBA you do is going to be of sufficient value to give you the salary increment that will help you pay off that debt in the shortest possible time. There's been some criticism that because MBAs are pretty much offered by every university and every postgraduate institution in the world nowadays, that they've become a little bit vanilla and have become a little bit sort of all-seeing and all-knowing. Are they not too common to justify this kind of funding?
Well, just to give you a bit of context, there's about 13,000 business schools in the world, which speaks to that point, Bruce, that there are a lot of people offering MBAs. We focused on the top 150 of those universities, and currently we offer programs at 60 of the top business schools. So we really focus at the top end of the market, and at that level there isn't an issue in terms of employability. So we see really high employment rates on graduation and significant upticks in salary above sort of 120% for someone coming from an emerging market. So certainly at the top end, there isn't an issue. It's really about the university that you're attending. If you went to business school 13,000 in the world, it would be more of an issue. But at the top end of the market where we are focused, the employability is extremely high.
Now, we've heard of call centres being run for multinationals out of Cape Town, but running a business funding MBAs out of Cape Town, there has been some scepticism about your capacity and ability to do it from the southern tip of Africa.
And we've had that comment a lot. Obviously, we started in London, and London's an amazing base for fintech and alternative finance. A lot of crowdfunding, which is the category we fall into, is being there's a lot of innovation happening in London in the space. So when we started, it's a great place to start. Our board sits in London, and our venture capitalist, our VC, is based in London, and a lot of our investors are based in London. But we run a completely global business. We have students from 95 different countries that we funded from around the world. We have university partners across the world, and there's no location that makes sense for us to build the team in. And so I chose for that to be Cape Town, because I think there's fantastic talent here. I think you've got great universities, and you can build an amazing world-class team here at a half or a third of the cost of London. So that was the decision, and since then we've grown the team. We're 46 people now, and we'll grow that at least sort of 3 times in the next 2 years. And Cape Town's a fantastic place to be based for the quality of life and for the people that want to be
a little dose
here.
of honesty there, Cameron. I was going to say, when last did you go paddle boarding or kayaking or surfing? I know it's winter, but you guys are tough. Admit as to when the last time you did that was? Was it this morning?
It's true. I have been trying to sort of run on the way to work in the morning, but certainly the hours do seem to take over, particularly with 2 kids. But I think on that, it's not a completely rosy picture. When we started, some of the infrastructure challenges like internet and the cost of broadband was a real challenge for us. And 3 years ago when we started, it led us to question the decision that we made. When you'd have your 20th video call being cut off that you were trying to have, and that was frustrating. But that's improved significantly. Well, I think Cape Town particularly has been pretty progressive. So they've been rolling out the city fiber project throughout the city. So I think it's about 400 kilometers of fiber, and we're connecting to that next month. And already before that, we just decided to invest a lot more in our internet bandwidth. And even though we're paying probably 50 times what you'd pay in London for bandwidth here, the rest of the costs are so significantly less, and that proportion of your total cost is so low that you can do that. But you just have to suck it up initially.
Yeah, I'm sure it's frustrating. The 46 people that work for you, are they all Cape Town based? Will the 200 over the next 3 or 4 years, will they be Cape Town based, or will you then have satellite operations across the globe?
We'll have, so we'll continue to build in London a little bit, and New York we're launching at the moment. So we have 2 people in New York now, and we'll launch in Singapore from next year. So we'll have some satellites for coverage across the world, but really sort of building the heart out in Cape Town, and our technology team, which sits in Cape Town, our operations team, which sits in Cape Town, and then sort of business development satellite hubs in those 3 locations.
Well, you talked about yourselves being in the crowdfunding space, but then you mentioned venture capital. Venture capitalists came to you in December, put a big wad of money on your desk and said, go ahead and spend it, Cameron, just the best way you think. How's that changed the dynamic of your business?
I think it's definitely the VCs try to pitch this, and I don't think it's true with many of the VCs, and particularly in Cape Town, I think there isn't much of a VC industry to speak of. So certainly in trying to build a global business, you need to have a global VC on board to do that successfully, I would say. I think it's a struggle in Cape Town if your capital and your VC network was coming from the Cape Town market, because I think it's still going to take some time for that to develop. So having one of the top 3 European VCs on board comes with capital, obviously, which is great, but it also comes with a link into that global network. They've been able to facilitate amazing meetings and connections for us already. So I think it's more than just the money when you're choosing your investor. It needs to be someone who shares the vision of what you're trying to build and can help you in that journey. And I think that's critical. And I don't think you can find that very easily in Cape Town.
When you look at the sort of students that you're looking to finance, the students you're looking to lend money to, from 95 countries in 60 business schools out of a universe of 13,000 around the world, what are the criteria you look for in the capacity of the students?
Sure. So we partner closely with the universities, and what we're looking to do is assess someone's future earning potential firstly, and their willingness to repay. And so what you're trying to do is you're taking the person who's living in Chile, who might be on a salary of, let's say, $5,000 now, but has been accepted into Yale to do his MBA, and you're trying to make an assessment on their future earnings potential. So what we do is we get thousands of data points from the universities on exit salaries and what people are earning on graduation, as well as the entry profiles of the students. So we can make we can run a regression and understand the correlations between entry profiles and exit earnings. So someone who's 26-year-old from Chile earning a salary of $5,000 going to Yale to do their MBA, we can predict within brackets what that person is going to be earning after their degree, and we can lend them a loan that makes sense based on that future earnings potential, rather than a bank looking at him and saying, well, he's earning $5,000, he has no assets, we don't think that he's someone who's bankable.
How do we avoid a generation of clever young people getting tied up with debt, and especially student loans? So many people complain about the fact, even from undergrad degrees, that they get into the workplace, it doesn't quite work out the way they'd hoped, and they end up being encumbered with this huge lump of debt in addition to the car and the house, and then the babies come along, and the student loan sort of gets extended over a long period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's not a generic answer on really. You need to look at the earning potential of the university and the degree, the earning potential that comes with that in terms of graduation. And so if you're going to Idaho Catering College in the US, and you take on $100,000 of debt to do that, that isn't a smart idea, and it's not something that we would fund or would be interested in. So I don't think it's all the same. But however, if you're going to Harvard and doing your MBA and you're coming from Ghana as the top student in Ghana, to take on that level of debt is perfectly acceptable because your lifetime earnings potential is going to be so significantly higher that it's a fantastic investment to make in yourself. But it's not a generic answer. I certainly don't think student loans are the answer to any degree in any course. And I think in the US specifically, at the bottom end of the market, there's definitely concerns about the level of indebtedness of students who are doing degrees which will not show them the lifetime earning potential that will make sense of that debt.
I mean, you're growing this business beyond the MBAs. You're also looking at other qualifications, other degrees, as well as your business expands from the current of 46 to nearly 200 in the next couple of years. You're willing to take a bit more risk now?
I think it's the same model. It's just growing out laterally. So we think it's a similar risk to fund, let's say, a master's in aeronautical engineering from a top engineering university as it is an MBA. The earnings trajectory is slightly different. Also, the tuition amount is slightly different. So the economics make sense. So we can certainly, our focus on the next 3 years is to roll out across the postgraduate space, specifically focused on international students that have the most challenges in getting funding. And that's a $25 billion a year market that we can focus on. So it's certainly big enough for us for the next 3 years.
Cameron Stevens, we must leave it there. I wish I could wave at you personally, but we can't do that. But Cameron Stevens, founder and chief executive of Prodigy Finance. What a fantastic story. Based in Cape Town, 46 people employed there. Another 150 people will walk through the doors of Prodigy Finance in the next couple of years and will contribute to this business, which is going global in the shadow of Table Mountain. Thank you for watching. There'll be more tonight, tomorrow. Till then, good night and goodbye.